Hey, dreamers, welcome back to your Dream Coach podcast, where we dive deep into the mindset habits and strategies that help you build a life and business that you love. I'm Shayla Wey, and today we are tackling something that quietly kills more dreams than failure ever could: comparison. And we all do it. We scroll through social media, we see someone else crushing it in our industry, and suddenly we feel like we're behind, like we'll never measure up. And I know this feeling well because I've been there myself. But here's what I found is comparison doesn't fuel progress, it fuels self-doubt. And if you're constantly looking at what others are doing, you're taking your eyes off your own path. So today we're breaking down why comparison is so dangerous, and more importantly, how to stop it so you can fully step into your own greatness. Comparison distracts you from your own journey. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is that the more time I spend watching what others are doing, the less time I actually spend building my own dreams. And when I first started coaching, I was constantly checking out what other coaches were doing, how they marketed, what their offers look like, even their branding. But all the time spent observing meant less time executing. And I have found that when I put my energy into my work instead of analyzing someone else's, everything moves forward so much faster. And you're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. And social media is honestly, it's a double-edged sword. It's an incredible tool for connection and growth, but it also creates a false reality. And I was actually just chatting about this with a coaching client a couple weeks ago. And a lot of businesses, the reality is, most people are finding businesses and helping that as a tool to grow business. That's where majority of people are. And what I have found is that the people I used to compare myself to were only showing their best moments, the wins, the celebrations, the perfect branding. And I wasn't seeing their struggles, their late nights, their moments of doubt. And when we compare ourselves to someone else's highlight reel, we set an impossible standard for ourselves. So I believe that social media is a phenomenal tool for highlighting your expertise and sharing wisdom. And I also now really reminded and cognizant that when I show up on social media, it's to be able to show up to serve and to also take away some of the greatest gifts that I can gain from other people sharing on their socials. Comparison can also fuel that imposter syndrome. And honestly, I don't think I've ever met somebody that does not have some sort of imposter syndrome, because we're human. And imposter syndrome thrives on the idea that everybody else has figured it out except you. I used to think that if I could just be as polished or successful as so and so, then I'd finally feel confident. But what I've learned is that confidence doesn't come from being like someone else, it comes from owning your own journey. And the more I focused on my unique path, the more imposter syndrome faded. And I know that in this current moment, I'm still nowhere where I want to be, right? I'm not as close to the goals that I've set for myself, but I also know that I'm further ahead than where I used to be. This is podcast episode 30. And I remember putting that first episode out and thinking, oh my gosh, this isn't even that great. But I know that from all of my experience in growth, leadership, fulfillment, that we all have to start somewhere. And so I just posted it and moved on. And what I will say is that I'm not anywhere close to where I want to be yet. But guess what? I'm 30 episodes further than where I was when I posted that first episode over a year ago. It can also lead to burnout and resentment. And I've seen how comparison, this happened to me so many times, not just in myself, but in my clients. When we're constantly measuring our progress against someone else's, we start working harder and not smarter. We push ourselves beyond what's sustainable, trying to keep up. And eventually it leads to exhaustion and resentment towards ourselves, towards our work, and even towards the people that we admire. And true success comes from working in alignment with your strengths and values, not someone else's. And sometimes comparison can make you play small. This one is sneaky. Sometimes when we compare ourselves to people who are much further ahead, we feel like we'll never get there. So why even try? I've seen business owners hold back from launching new ideas because they don't think they can do it as well as someone else. But what I've found is that the most successful people start before they feel ready. They don't let comparison keep them stuck. And your strengths are different than theirs. One of the biggest shifts I made is recognizing that success isn't one size fits all. The people I used to compare myself to had different experiences, skills, and strengths than I do. And when I started embracing my strengths, my unique perspective, my ability to connect with clients in a deep way, my business started growing in a way that just felt natural and fulfilling. And I found that the more you lean into your unique gifts, the more that success follows you. And the market needs what you bring. There's room for all of us. I was on a call this morning talking about this exact same thing, how sometimes we feel in our area that it can be saturated. And why would someone want to work with our business or work with our team? But the reality is that if it's saturated, is it because there's a need for it? And there is room for all of us. And as we know, especially on social media, the algorithms are going to give us more of what we're looking at. And so if we're an XYZ business, chances are we follow a lot more of businesses like ours. And so it's constantly there for us to see. And so one of the biggest lies comparison tells us is that if someone else is succeeding, there's less success available for us. But I found that the opposite is true. The market isn't oversaturated with you. Your voice, your style, your approach, it's all valuable. So the moment you stop trying to be like someone else and start showing up as yourself, the right clients, opportunities, and success come your way. And gratitude shifts everything. Every time I catch myself slipping into comparison, I've learned to shift my focus to gratitude. This is something that really strengthened for me in 2020, is because when I started to go down that slope of worry, fear, the unknown, I reminded myself that it's impossible to feel stressed in the exact same moment that you're grateful. So instead of thinking, why am I not there yet? I started to ask myself, what am I grateful for? What have I already accomplished? Gratitude grounds us in our own journey instead of obsessing over someone else's. And the more I focus on what's already working, the more good things seem to flow my way. And that idea of community over competition. One of the best things I've done is shift my mindset from competition to collaboration. Instead of seeing others in my industry as threats, I've started seeing them as allies. I found that when you genuinely support and uplift others, that energy comes back to you tenfold. The people I once compared myself to, some of them are now my biggest cheerleaders, and vice versa. And the only person that you should compare yourself to is yesterday's you. At the end of the day, the only real comparison that matters is the one between who you were yesterday and who you are today. And when I started focusing on my own progress, no matter how small, it changed everything. And I'm able to do this with my experience as a small business coach. I'm able to look at businesses, help leaders, help teams grow by looking on where they are now, where they were yesterday, and focusing on how we can continue to grow day by day and focusing on the goals that align with that business. So instead of looking left and right, I look inward. Am I growing? Am I learning? Am I moving forward? And that's really what truly matters. If comparison has been stealing your joy, your confidence, your momentum, it's time to take back control. I challenge you to take a social media detox, unfollow anyone who triggers comparison, and start celebrating your journey. Focus on progress, not perfection. And here's my challenge to you. Take one of these shifts and implement it this week. Maybe it's practicing gratitude. Maybe it's focusing on your own strengths. Maybe it's choosing collaboration over competition. Whatever it is, commit to it and watch how your mindset changes. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't yet subscribed, and if you haven't yet subscribed and leave a review, it does help more people stop that comparisons trap and really start building their dreams. And remember that your path is yours alone. Walk it with confidence, and I'll see you next time on your Dream Coach podcast.